Hey guys, I'm Brad with Dallas Geek, and we're here today with
Desert Rose Cosplay.
And we're here talking about her cosplay journey so far. Tell me a little bit about how did you get into cosplay?
So do you want the long or the short story?
What are you feeling?
We'll go for the medium story.
All right.
Okay, so when I was small, my dad used to give me comic books. That was like his bedtime stories for me were comic books. So my favorite at the time was DC. I loved the Batman, Penguin, Poison Ivy whole storyline. And so it was kind of a nostalgia thing for me. My dad was in the Air Force and he would travel a lot. So when he was home, we would do Comic-Cons and comic books together. So yeah, I started young, but I didn't really start cosplaying, I think, at a serious level until I was probably like 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. So you've definitely been around the community for quite a while.
Yes.
So of all that time, what has been your favorite aspect of the whole convention cosplay community?
So that's tough. I love the community sense of it. I was always a little bit awkward as a kid, so I think it just gave me an outlet, creative outlet, and a way to meet people and make friends and just kind of like learn to socialize, where I wasn't very good with that before. As I said, we were a military family, so we did move quite a bit. And even though we always had kind of a home base up in the north, like we did travel all over the place throughout the year. So I think that's it. Sense of community for me. It gave me some purpose, you know?
So just, following you for as long as I have been, it does seem like you've done a pretty wide array of types of cosplay, ranging from your Star Trek to your Marvel to a little bit of your DC to your Harry Potter. I mean, what has been the most difficult cosplay for you to get together? Okay,
so we're gonna rank this on like a 1 to 5, right? So very hardest cosplay I ever did was probably my first big build, which was Legs from Toy Story, the Misfit Toys.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen that one. It's one of my older ones, so
I don't know if I have.
A little obscure. It is a like 8-foot long fishing pole with my legs being the Barbie legs. So it's really cool.
Wow.
Had like a motor in it that like the rope went up and down with the hook on it and everything. So that was probably the hardest, also because I was still living in New York City at the time. So it had to be collapsible to take to conventions or like, Halloween parties or whatever I was doing with it at the time. So that was probably what really like set me off back into cosplay. Is I was at the School of Visual Arts and we were having a big competition, which was before I really knew that cosplay was like an actual market, I guess. And I did this competition and I entered in it with the Legs toy and I ended up winning a free laptop out of it. So like MacBook Pro, and I was all set, and after that I just kept doing it. Second hardest one after that would probably be Kimora, because it's the leather working and the body paint.
Got it.
Prosthetics, everything. I mean, I had never done anything with like full prosthetics before, and so I had like the markings on her face. Those were all prosthetic appliances. And then the body paint on top of that, the detail body painting. I think in general, like the get ready time for that was like extremely grueling.
Got it.
And also, like I said, the leather working. I mean, I got pieces of it made by somebody who didn't actually finish it. So I still had to like put everything together myself and then fit it to myself. And I had never worked with leather, so it was just kind of a try it out and see where it goes kind of thing. So that one for sure. Man, they just kind of range. Everything has its own challenges, I think, but those are probably the two most that come to my mind when I think about it. Body painting is always difficult, but it's one of my favorite things to do. Twi'lek, I've done a Twi'lek from Star Wars before. And the challenges with that are way different. Like, you have to make a headpiece that, looks like it's still a normal headpiece, but it has to match and fit well and also be comfortable and not too heavy and pulling on your hair, and it's like a lot of things that nobody thinks about until you're actually trying to wear a costume for an entire day. So that was probably pretty difficult too. But
now I do know that you have done quite a bit of body paint cosplays. I mean, one of the most it seems like one of the most popular ones has been your Orion Slave Girl.
Yes.
Like, what are the big challenges for you with the body paint? I mean, is it trying to find the right kind of body paint that works best for that color, or is it just trying to find the right color or making it, work for the costume?
Yeah, I think the key with body paint is just like a lot of trial test runs, like trying out different products and appliances and just like really playing around with it and like getting comfortable, because it seems very hard and discouraging when you think about it, but it's actually not. It's really fun to work with. And for me, the biggest challenge has been finding the right product, like just finding something that works, that sticks on me, that looks good and even, and like photographs well. So I've had a lot of really good luck with the Makeup Forever brand color creams, which is like a professional body painting makeup. But it is still that it's a makeup. It's not a paint. Like people have this misconception that you're like airbrushing yourself with actual paint, which you're not. It's a makeup.
Yeah.
And this one goes on in a cream and dries to like a powdery finish. So it is actually very smooth for photos. It's got an HD aspect to it. And it just looks really good.
Yeah.
It's light. It washes off like that. Like you get in the shower and the water takes it right off, but you can rub on it and touch it all day long and it won't smudge.
Yeah.
So.
Which actually, so we have actually done quite a few interviews, like even in studio with cosplayers, getting very extensive about how you made or how you did this or that with cosplay. With body paint, I think the one thing that not a lot of people really think about is, are you able to do much with additional makeup when you're doing a body paint cosplay, or does it all, like if you go body paint, it kind of all has to be some variation of body paint or that body makeup with different ways of highlighting your features?
Okay, that's actually a really good question. So for me, the reason that I stick with like the Makeup Forever brand paints, especially my body artist Crystal from A Bit of Makeup, she does a lot of my work. She travels with me to the Star Trek convention. She does help me with all of the prosthetics and body painting, base painting, but beauty makeup and highlighting and all of that stuff I typically do myself. Now, unless it's something really big, then she does all of it.
Sure.
But you can mix regular makeup over top of those body paints. That's the thing I like about that. If you're using like an Endura airbrush or something like that, a makeup is not going to look as smooth and even on top of it afterwards. So you're right, like it might flake off or it may not hold. Alcohol-based paints in general don't work on my skin type, so that's why I stick with the creams. But it does still dry. Like people really have, like I said, a misconception about it. It dries.
Yeah.
It's not like clown makeup. It's not grease paint. It will stay on you all day long. It'll look smooth and even. It's just like your foundation you are on your face. So using any kind of powder, highlighter, anything for definition afterwards, you can put it on with a brush just like normal, and it looks great.
With how long you've been in the cosplay community and all the different experiences you've had, is there any particular experience that stands out to you as your favorite or most memorable thing that's happened to you because of cosplay?
Yeah, I'd have to say it's probably a lot of my experiences associated with the Star Trek convention, because one of the things that's very dear to me is Star Trek. My first box set that I ever got as a kid was the original series, actually, that my dad gave me. And so it's just very like emotional for me, and I get into it, and I think that I appreciate how the actors from Star Trek are very in tune with their fandom. So I have had them go out of their way to come over to me and like get a picture with me instead of me having to go ask them. And I think that's really cool. Like Nichelle Nichols has come up to me at the booth with my Impala before, because I was in a Star Trek costume, actually this one, Yeoman Rand.
Nice.
And left her booth, got out of her wheelchair to come over and ask me for a picture. And I'm like, just the level of grace that most of these actors have from Star Trek is incredible. And my most memorable experiences are from there.
Very nice. Speaking of the Star Trek convention, you do seem like you've been attached to it in one way or another for quite a while.
Yes.
How did you get in with that convention? How did you get started? It
was really random how that happened. They actually reached out to me because I was a big Star Trek fan, and they saw that and just invited me out to the show. And the first time I went was 5 years ago, and I really, like, they gave me tickets to the show, and I came out, and all I did was walk around in costume and did normal convention stuff and hung out and just took pictures and just made myself available as like an extra attraction, I guess. And ever since then, they've been bringing me back and having me do more and more stuff and incorporating me into the show. So,
nice.
Next year is going to be even bigger and better. We've already started planning that. And it's nice because now they do utilize our cosplay skills to bring out the guests and add to the environment a little bit more, make it more Vegas-y. So it's kind of fun and over the top.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then, of course, the thing that we always have to touch on with our cosplay guests is social media. So let's start off by what platforms are you on?
I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon.
Okay.
Okay.
And so of those platforms, what has been the most receptive platform to the kind of social media style that you have?
You know, it's really interesting to me, especially now knowing that like Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company at this point. My Facebook following has always been bigger, but Instagram is more interactive.
Okay.
So and that's usually kind of like backwards, but I have the most consistent like comments, followers, everything on Instagram than anywhere else. And I think a lot of that is from Star Trek again, because like I've been featured on a lot of Star Trek sites, but they're just like so overwhelmingly nice. You know, I get messages every day, encouragement and all kinds of stuff, and I don't get that on a lot of other platforms. Now at one point my Instagram account was hacked and then taken down, and then I had to restart it. So like, you know, that's happened to me before, but this last time it was like probably the most detrimental, but I think I've gotten most of them back now. So, you know, that is the one frustrating thing for me about social media, is just the constant having to like keep on top of it, because people do like to mess with them. And
Sure. Then, of course, the last thing that I do want to ask you, with social media comes the cosplay photography.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, anybody that even has taken a quick look at your Instagram and Facebook would know you've done quite a bit of work in that area. So when it comes to photographers that want to do work with you, do you have a specific group that you continue to go back to, or do you kind of just go with any photographer that you like their work and want to work with, or that reaches out to want to work with you? I mean, how does that usually work?
Now, me personally, I'm really open to working with new photographers all the time, so I don't ever say no.
Yeah.
I like to just test things out and see where it goes. You know, I have been very impressed by some people who even a year prior to that hadn't impressed me. So, I mean, I think everybody's constantly changing and getting better and evolving, and, you know, it's just like increasing your portfolio is important. So if you put all this time and effort into making a detail-oriented costume, it seems crazy that you wouldn't shoot with different photographers to get different, you know, styles. So, yeah.
Very cool.
But I definitely do have a few favorites that I go back to over and over again. Superhero photos, you know, Alan, Scott. Like, there's a bunch of locals that are just amazing. I'm always trying new people.
Well, then if you are not already following her, you absolutely need to go check her out. Desert Rose Cosplay.
Rose Cosplay.
So, until next time, this is Brad from Dallas Geek saying, see ya.